What's good, YouTube? This is part 2 of signs a guy is emotionally unavailable. I got 5 more signs to go over in this video, so let's get into it. The first sign that a guy might be emotionally unavailable is you're watching this video or videos like this. They're relevant to you at all. This is because you likely don't feel secure in what you two are doing. You're anxious because he hasn't given you a reason to feel good about who you are to him. He hasn't given you enough of an anchor. Likely because he's missed or refused opportunities to give you that. Anytime you find yourself in a very doubtful position, especially if you've been dealing with a guy for, a couple of months or, even more. A lot of women are dealing with guys for 5, 6, or 7 months, and they still feel anxious. They still don't know where they stand. That's not by accident. That's by design. A woman who doesn't know where she stands will make herself a lot more convenient. She'll be a lot more easy to deal with. And an emotionally unavailable guy needs easy to deal with because he's only dealing with women based on their convenience to him. He's not willing to put up with anything. He's not willing to endure anything for a woman who's just supposed to be playing a role of entertainment and sex buddy. So your anxiety could be something that he's triggering on purpose because he knows the way to a woman's heart is to confuse her emotions. If you hate that it works, sorry, stop responding to it. Deal with men who give you consistency. So many women are going to jump in my comment section right now and start bashing all the men that are doing this to them, but they're still trying to figure out how to get closer to those guys. Stop bullshitting with yourself and move on to guys who are giving you more if this pisses you off. Anyway, the second sign a man might be emotionally unavailable is he avoids working through disagreements. He won't hash anything out. In fact, he won't do any difficult task as it pertains to how you relate to each other. He won't put in any work to grow with you when challenged or an issue arises. In the last video, I talked about how a guy might punish you with distance. Well, this is one of those reasons why. Because distance is easier to do than communicate difficult emotions or any vulnerability. Conflict management can be very uncomfortable. There are many books written around having difficult conversations because people hate them so much. But conflict management is an investment in your future as a couple, as a team, as a friendship, as partners, as companions. Getting through those conflicts, putting that work in, is an investment in your future. An emotionally unavailable guy isn't making any investments in the future. When things aren't easy, when things aren't convenient, when things are no longer fun, he moves on to the next woman because he's emotionally unavailable. He doesn't need no woman thinking that she can cause turmoil in his life and he's going to work through it. He's going to have those difficult conversations. He's going to stress himself out over her because she'll start to feel expectant of more from him. It'll start to feel like a relationship. Emotionally unavailable men avoid difficult conversations. They would much rather give you distance to kill that expectation that that conversation will even happen, or to kill the expectation that you can stay in their presence or stay in their lives if you're going to become a person that they have to manage conflict with. If a man is unwilling to manage conflict and his only recourse is to move on or to create distance or to go silent on you when you don't do what he wants and when you don't act the way he wants you to act, it's not because he's just a weak communicator and he has trouble dealing with his feelings, as so many of you think. It's because he's trying to remind you that he's not willing to put up with anything from you, that you are in his life for a convenient reason and that alone. So if every time you try to have a real conversation, an honest, open, vulnerable, difficult conversation with the guy, and he retreats, ask yourself, is he retreating because he's afraid of that conversation, or is he retreating because I'm not qualified to have this conversation with him? You're not his girlfriend. Why would he make himself uncomfortable for you? A guy's unwillingness to have those uncomfortable conversations is a huge red flag that he's emotionally unavailable, no matter what he's telling you about what he wants. Moving on, the third sign that a guy is emotionally unavailable is he's hot and cold, obviously. Men know what women are looking for. They're not stupid. We all know that women want a sense of security eventually. We know a man represents a woman's rock, a woman's support, a woman's protector. Not just physically, but emotionally, sometimes psychologically. But that security happens when she's confident in who she is with us and who we are with her. That security happens when she can expect things from us, when we are open to being responsible to her and answering to her, when we will allow ourselves to be uncomfortable and inconvenienced on her behalf. That's when she's most secure, when a man might sacrifice for a woman. With that said, a guy who's hot and cold, a guy who's all or nothing, intermittently, is just trying to disturb and disrupt your sense of security because he knows that many times women will bridge the gap and make themselves more convenient and more fun and more loose about a lot of things that they shouldn't be loose about. Leniency follows anxiety. The fear of loss makes a woman start to accept things from a guy that she would otherwise not accept. The guy who's hot and cold understands what his effect of being hot and cold is. He knows that it disturbs your sense of security or confidence with him. If he's emotionally unavailable, many times he's doing this on purpose. A lot of times the hot and cold is hot sexually, cold emotionally. He understands that the only time that woman feels close is when she's having sex, when she's under him or on top of him or he's sweating on her. It's no accident that he's very sure about that and very unsure about every other part of who she is and what she has to offer him. He's hot and cold on purpose because it makes it easier to control a woman who's actually affected by that type of mess. So if you don't like it, yeah, get in my comment section, bash men, blah, 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 but do something about it. Stop responding to that shit. Moving on, the fourth sign in this video that a man is emotionally unavailable or not is that he takes more than he gives you. A lot of you start to feel like employees to the guy you date. A lot of you are running errands for them. You're giving them money. You're having sex with them. You're making them dinner. You're running plates over. You're giving them gifts. You're trying to celebrate them on their birthdays. You're trying to make them feel loved in all these ways. And then when it's your turn or when you need that or when the expectation is that he might return that favor, you get nothing. Or something so small that it's just to maintenance your expectation to continue giving him more. Emotionally unavailable guys often don't give of themselves very much because, again, that creates expectation. And you can't have a bunch of expectant women because they start to show up at the same times. An expectant woman might just pop up. You can't have that. You can't have her feeling so comfortable that she thinks she knows you or that she can just show up at any time or call your number at any time. I talk to far too many women who are too afraid to dial the number of the guy that they're sleeping with because they're not sure if they're welcome to. If a man has been laying you down, but you don't even know if you're allowed to call him at any time, if you think that maybe it's too late to call him, I don't know what he's doing, I don't want him to get upset, that's by design. When a man wants a woman, he makes it clear to her that she is welcome to intrude on his life. That is a fact. If you have to ask that question, he's likely emotionally unavailable. Moving on, last but not least, the last sign that a man is emotionally unavailable is he switched up. His energy switched up. Everything about him switched up. The way he talks to you switched up. The way he talks about relationships and love switched up. A lot of times these guys will come in red hot. They want it all. They love you. They want to be with you. They want a girlfriend. You're the woman of their dreams. Blah, 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 blah. And that shit'll last for about 2 weeks. Because it's very difficult to keep up an act for very long. That's why I always tell you guys, follow a man's patterns, follow his habits, follow what he does consistently over time. And if it's 2 weeks, 3 weeks, that is not enough time. A person can keep up an act for at least that long. How many times have you went to a job that you couldn't stand and pretended to be the greatest employee in the room for about 2 or 3 weeks? Or 90 days even until your probationary period went off? Don't allow a guy to come in full speed ahead, red hot, telling you all the things you want to hear without having had the time and opportunities to prove those things with consistent actions. And I'm not talking about a couple of weeks. I'm talking about months. Consistent temperament, consistent language use, consistent ideas, consistent effort, consistent time spent, consistent vulnerability, consistent intimacy, consistent conversations, consistent everything. Over time, a person will reveal themselves to you. Stop listening to everything a guy says. If he's emotionally unavailable, even if he comes in hot and starts to tell you he's available, he wants a woman, he wants to be married, all of these things, don't hear any of that shit until the actions follow. Listen to the actions. Acknowledge the words, you heard it, got it. But listen to what a man is doing, listen to what a man is presenting you. An emotionally unavailable man can oftentimes misrepresent what he wants because he understands that some women need to hear what he's saying and are desperate for that level of validation. If he's just a scoundrel and he's really emotionally unavailable and he lacks morality, he will use that against you, get everything he can get from you, and then he will skirt off into the night. He will switch things up. He'll start talking to you different. His tone will change. The way he responds to you will change. He won't call you back as much. He's less curious about you. He's having less conversations with you. He's giving you less time, less effort, less mush. Please don't be taken by a man's mush. Make him prove himself over time. That's not to say that you don't give back. That's not to say that you are playing hard to get. It's just to say that you don't expect a person to be something that you haven't witnessed from them. You need the proof before you believe all of that mess that comes out of a man's mouth, because he could be emotionally unavailable and a scoundrel. He could be a liar. Make a man prove himself over time, and that way he can't just switch up and take all of your security with him. Never trust whatever a guy says within the first month you know him, especially if it pertains to how much he wants you and how much he wants to marry you and all of these things. It could be true, but if it's true, you'll see that same shit in month 2, in month 3, in month 4. Never take a man's word for it. Make him prove it. Make him show you in time. Anyway, that's all I got. Follow me at KidFick24 on Instagram. I'll get with y'all later.